The big news of the day is still the Ghislaine Maxwell tapes. I did not read the whole thing, but I did sort of skip ahead a little bit and skim it and sort of see what's coming. And dude, when we get to page 95, like, you are gonna shit yourself when you see the turn this takes. I mean, we know, right? We know from just looking at the beginning, we know she's spinning a tale, she's spinning a yarn about, you know, oh, I hardly knew Giuffre. I was like his general manager. I helped him find real estate. But wait till you see the story she drops, bro. I mean, it's pretty wild. Like, let me just tell you, I think the family of Virginia Giuffre should sue the Trump administration, right? Dude, it's crazy. Let me just tell you, it gets crazy. And they did something on purpose too with how they redacted it. They redact Virginia's name, but they don't redact her boyfriend. So what she does is she names Virginia's boyfriend at that time, so everybody knows who Ghislaine is talking about. And then she basically says that Virginia is the one who did all the trafficking, right? And obviously Virginia's dead, so there's no way to refute that. Isn't that wild? Dude, that's the angle they're doing. Dude, the family has to sue. And what's wild is that we know there's shit in the actual files that refutes the shit out of that. But it is crazy. They did this purposely. Todd, Blanche, Trump's DOJ, they didn't redact Virginia's boyfriend's name, so everybody who reads it, you'd be able to know who she's talking about. They should have redacted his name too to protect the victim, but they didn't. They left his name unredacted, right? And it's just a dirty scoundrel move. It's pretty brutal. This is, I mean, we see what's going on now. Essentially what they were doing, they are like, Ghislaine didn't testify at her trial. And at her trial, they blamed it on Sarah Kellen and Adriana Ross and the other people that had immunity from the original deal. Who also, don't get me wrong, Adriana Ross and Sarah Kellen, they're absolutely guilty. And right, they are. The four that were on that immunity deal, 𝗪dia Marcinkova and Leslie Groff, they are absolutely guilty. All four of them should be in fucking prison right now. But they got off because they were listed on that immunity deal. They went after Ghislaine Maxwell. But now she's like changing up. She's about to change up in a really insane fucking way. All right, here we go. Let's get in.
I just want to say for the record that I do believe that Epstein did a lot of, not all, but some of what he's accused of. And I'm not here to defend him in any respect whatsoever. I don't want to, and I don't think he requires nor deserves any type of protection or for me in any way to sugarcoat what he did or didn't do. So there's that.
Dude, she says she thinks he did some of what he's accused of.
However, the man I met and the man he became, I believe that there is a progression. And I don't think that the man I met is the man that he became. I believe he became that man over a period of time. Now,
again, before she launches into this, I do have to stop and pause and say in 1996, Giuffre and Ghislaine sexually abused a 16-year-old girl in New Mexico. That precipitated a call to the FBI where Giuffre Epstein and Donald Trump, both of them were reported by the older sister of that 16-year-old girl. She reported Giuffre Epstein because of he and Ghislaine sexually abusing her younger sister, and she reported Donald Trump because of an event that happened in Giuffre's office where Giuffre called her in, and then Trump walked in, and she was like, why is Donald Trump, who was very well known in New York in the 90s, why is he here? And then he started looking at her like a piece of meat, and she was like, what the fuck is going on? And Giuffre came out and said, no, she's not here for you. And then he rushed Donald off into another back room, okay? And that's why she called and mentioned Donald Trump, because she believed that he too was involved in this sexual abuse and whatever trafficking ring. Because she believed that there was another young girl in that back room, and Trump was coming here for that young girl. But when he saw her out in the dark office out exterior, he thought that was the girl that was there that Epstein had for him. Okay, so it's dirty, guys.
We can discuss anything you want, and I'll tell you everything I know. But I think somebody who has an interest, however you define it, in underage people is obviously someone who is unwell. But I don't think that you wake up one day and you start doing what he's accused of. I think this is something that you develop or you progress to. I think. Because
Glenn, before you get into all that, let's answer the top line question and then get into it.
Okay, the top line question is...
Did you ever see any of these people with underage
No.
women?
So the reason I'm saying that is not to avoid that question, but it's because by the time when you were talking in the 90s, I don't think he was there. That description, I think that what you're talking about is a later version.
Yeah.
Again, in 1996, she was doing it with him. She is a fucking liar. She sexually abused a girl with him in 1996. He was absolutely doing it. They already had a network of arranging girls for doing it. Trump was involved in this. He was right in 2000. They grabbed Virginia Giuffre to bring her in, okay? And Trump, had Trump models that was trafficking young girls from Eastern Europe, and Epstein was getting inspired by Trump to start his own modeling company with Jean-Luc Brunel, which they did. That was MC2. She is out there. But it's about to get crazy. Hold the phone, guys, because she's about to blame the entire Epstein case on Virginia Giuffre, who is dead and can't defend herself. Here it comes.
No, I understand that, and I do want to talk. I'm not.
So it's I think you need to separate the periods of time.
Sure.
Because one of the things that was definitely missing in my trial and definitely missing from the narrative is this notion, everything happened and he was always no, I don't believe that to be true.
So that's fine, and I do want to talk about that. I'm not pushing that away. I'm just putting it aside for a moment. What Mr. Epstein did, and frankly what you did or are accused of doing, is one thing that we'll talk about. But what right now...
Are accused of doing, she was convicted. You see what he did there? What you did or are accused of doing? She was fucking convicted. They had a trial, man. She was convicted, bro. It's not she was accused. She fucking did it. Like,
what I want to understand is whether one of the ways that Mr. Epstein befriended his clients or took care of them, or some would say blackmailed them, was by encouraging them to interact with women, underage or not.
okay, now hold on. We do need an insert here.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
All right, now, again, Why not simply say, no, I have not ever socialized with him in the presence of underage girls? All right? I mean, noted. Thank you. Do you see that head move where he's like, dude, yeah, that head shake was telling, bro.
My question is that there's a lot of accusations that one of the way Mr. Epstein was successful was through this idea of blackmail. And yes, young women and is a crime. Children is a crime.
Absolutely.
But even women over the age of 18, if Mr. Epstein encouraged these men or whomever to get massages and have inappropriate sexual contact with the masseuses, that's a separate issue, maybe slightly nuanced, but did you ever know him to do that?
No, I never did, absolutely, myself. I never heard him ask someone. I never heard that. No one, in the entire time I was with him or friends with him or had anyone, no one ever reported to me or came to me and said that anything inappropriate happened or was upset by it. I never saw tears. I never saw ever any of that.
Yeah, never saw any of that ever, but she and Jeffrey Epstein again sexually abused Annie Farmer in New Mexico in 1996, which led to Maria Farmer's call to the FBI. All right? 10 years before he got arrested.
And when you say no one ever reported to me, meaning like the masseuses or
Never.
any of the house staff?
Never.
Or the clients.
Or the clients themselves?
Never.
Okay. So let's, again, I want to stay, and coming back now to what you were talking about a moment ago with Mr. Epstein's kind of progression or getting worse, so just staying within the 90s, what role did you have, or what did you observe, which are two different issues but both important, with respect to recruiting masseuses to come to either, I guess, Palm Beach or to travel or eventually New Mexico? What role did you have in that?
He asked me to find masseuses for him.
Say it again?
He asked me if I could find him masseuses.
Like as part of, like you said, you were his general manager, so as part of all your duties, that was one of them.
And I did do that. So the first person I believe that I introduced him to as a masseuse was somebody called She was, I don't know, late 20s, professional masseuse.
Was this something that happened early on in your relationship, or, and again, I know we're talking about the 90s, but are we talking about early 90s, or is this later on?
So, in terms of massage, I've had a lot of injuries. I do a lot of dangerous sports, and have had multiple serious accidents, and walk without any lameness because of physical therapy and massage. That to me is a very, it's medicinal for me. So Epstein, whatever his massage situation, whatever, he loved massage. And if I met somebody who I thought was a good masseuse or masseur, I introduced them. And because I got them and he asked me if I did, and I said yes. And I'm pretty sure that would have, well, I can't remember. 93, 92, early, from the beginning.
So she's just like casually, I have a lot of injuries, get a lot of massages, and I would refer my therapist to Giuffre because he too loved massage. Dude, I know, but guys, just wait. It is about to get like beyond batshit. I cannot even describe to you how batshit this is going to get in the next 5 pages. Just brace yourselves, people. We are about to enter the fucking Twilight Zone. Watch what they do here, guys.
So then what happens over the next, like, there's a ton of writing and a ton of, I guess, testimony as well, but also public reporting about how the recruiting was a very aggressive effort that you were a part of, that he was a part of, and others, to try to find more and more masseuses. What is that true, and what role did you have in that?
That is partially true.
Okay.
So it is true that I found masseuses, and he became more insistent. He he like knew all the time. He got bored. So he would be bored with a masseuse and he would say, find me a new masseuse. I am the entire opposite. If I find someone that I like, I stay with them. I'm like, I don't want new. He would drive for new. So that is true. And in my effort to find them, I would go to massage spas, like legitimate spas. We're not talking, funky ones that people have. So, if I got a massage from somebody in a spa that I liked, I asked them if they would do home visits. If they said yes, I would ask them to come to the house, and he would see if he liked them or not. But these were people who worked in spas. I never ever checked their age, and I never checked their credentials. I never asked for a certificate.
Okay, so let's pause right there because we're about to enter batshit land. But so first off, Todd Blanche, there absolutely is testimony from her trial. I saw someone mention that. But he's never asked her about her sexual abuse of Annie Farmer in '96. But now she's saying it started with him just simply, I need a new masseuse. Nothing weird, just his constant need for a brand new masseuse. And she's out there trolling the spas, looking for masseuses, which is not very likely and very unusual. And she's like, but I never checked their credentials, so I don't know how old they were.
But just to be clear, you never thought anybody was under 18?
I never crossed my, no, that was never my, that was never a drive.
What did you know at the time about him, Mr. Epstein, requiring masseuses to be naked or requiring masseuses to either perform favors for Mr. Epstein or to be there if Mr. Epstein masturbated or things like that? And again, I'm asking you about a 15-year period or whatever, 10-year period. So I appreciate it's a very broad question. So answer it in a way that, addresses what you've been charged with doing, but also what's been said about you.
Okay, so the 90s,
What is that question?
That I ever thought, that never would cross my mind. I'm not sure that I thought about that in those contexts at all until his arrest and those papers came out. But I believe the subject of the question that you're asking me, I believe started in the 2000s.
In the 2000 time period?
Yes, 2000.
Why do you think, like, what in your mind makes you think that that's the time that it started?
I think because in December of 2001, he met, and I think was responsible for that in its entirety. And the reason I believe that, so she was a self-confessed, having been sexually abused as a young girl, and was trained, her words, I'm quoting now, not mine, in all the arts of whatever that is, the sex program, by a man called Ron Eppinger, who was her pimp from when she was 14, I believe.
She's talking about Virginia. But here's where it gets weird, guys, because they redact her name, and Ron Eppinger, though, they didn't redact Ron Eppinger's name. And they should have redacted his name, but they did not. So you would know that she's talking about Virginia, because before Virginia met Jeffrey Epstein, she had had a situation with Ron Eppinger where she had been like assaulted by him. And I mean, Virginia was from a very, had a very troubled fucking life. Okay. So Virginia had been connected to Ron Eppinger. Then Virginia was working in Mar-a-Lago. Ghislaine got Virginia out of Mar-a-Lago and started having her work for Giuffre. But now she's saying, oh, Giuffre met Virginia, and that's when all this shit started. So what she's doing is she's essentially now, it's going to get crazier, but she is now blaming this whole thing, the massages, the prostitution, the ring, she's going to blame it all on Virginia Giuffre, who is dead and cannot counteract this testimony. And they left Ron Eppinger's name unredacted, and they're going to leave another one of Virginia's boyfriend's names unredacted, so everyone knows she's talking about Virginia. They've set it up to where they didn't redact all of it, so you know it's Virginia. But Virginia cannot defend herself. It's fucking outrageous. Like, Virginia's family is going to be outraged.
She was a self-confessed, having been abused as a young girl, and was trained, her words, I'm quoting now, not mine, in all the arts of whatever that is, a sex program, by a man called Ron Eppinger, who was her pimp from when she was 14, I believe, or 15, I don't know. And in her book describes him training her to be what every man wants in all its manners, and everything else. I believe that then what happened was that he met her, and she came as a masseuse to his house in December of 2001 is when I think it started. Now, what their relationship was and what happened with them in that early period of time, I cannot say. What I can say is that he liked her, and she started to travel with him at that time period. I know then what happened was that when she first started to see him, or first came into his orbit as his masseuse or whatever, she was engaged to be married and wearing an engagement ring, and was living with her fiancé. She broke up after a few months with her fiancé and took up with the local drug dealer. So let's say after 4 or 5 months in the time period when she was seeing Epstein, let's say we're now May, June of 2000.
She's basically saying Virginia Giuffre came in and, like, all of a sudden she started Epstein on this path.
Mm-hmm. And 2, or is it 2000? From whenever she hits the, whatever that is, if that's 2000, I think it's 2000, I'm sorry. I think it's when she met him, December of 2000. So then you go through, I don't remember, you'll have to look.
Okay. I'm not holding you the exact date.
No, I mean, I'm just trying to, I'm giving the, so then I think, so she takes up with the local drug dealer, and she becomes druggy. Like, you know how druggies, well, maybe you don't. I live with a lot in Tallahassee. They become even more unreliable than normal.
Dude, she's basically saying, first off, the way she says that Giuffre met Virginia, she's like, first she said 2001, it was 2000, but the way she said Giuffre met Virginia, but like the only reason Epstein met Virginia Giuffre is because Ghislaine Maxwell found her in Mar-a-Lago in the spa and recruited her, and she was not a trained masseuse. She brought her into the fold. She brought her to London to Prince Andrew. But now she's saying Giuffre met Virginia. Virginia got in with a drug dealer and became a really whacked out person. And Virginia did all this to Giuffre Epstein. Dude, this is insane. And Virginia's dead. Can't do anything to fucking, there's no way for her to refute this.
And at some point, she's now working somewhere else. He stopped seeing her because he doesn't like people who do drugs. And I think that not seeing her lasted 5 or 6 months. And in that period of time, she got arrested for theft. And she had a warrant out for her arrest. Now this I've pieced together because this piece I didn't know. She then called Epstein to have help avoiding the warrant for her arrest, and now
she's giving us a hearsay story about Virginia Giuffre.
She then called Epstein to have help avoiding the warrant for her arrest, and he sent her to Thailand to get a massage therapy license. This is the bit that I guess. This is the bit that I extrapolated. In the period of time from when she came back to when she left, he asked her to replace herself as his masseuse or whatever she was doing, and she brought the first replacement for her that would have been one of the accusers in my case, I think, would have been, and then everyone who came subsequent, simultaneously, if she wasn't the first, I don't know, every single person who came to his house came through, and her boyfriend Tony, and then whoever else underneath her, and that is how it started.
So before her...
Tony Figueroa is her boyfriend.
Again, Tony Figueroa, that's Virginia's boyfriend. They didn't redact Tony Figueroa, so we know that she's saying everyone, every single person who came to his house came through Virginia Giuffre and her boyfriend Tony and whoever else. So she's basically now saying Virginia did all this. All of the trafficking, the girls that went through, it was all Tony Figueroa's girlfriend, who was Virginia Giuffre, but they didn't redact Tony. They didn't redact Ron Eppinger, and they did that purposely so everybody who's reading this would know that it was Virginia. And there was no question about the redaction, dude. This is a fucking con job because Virginia's dead, okay? And now, dude, in her trial, they said it was Sarah Kellen. They said it was Adriana. But now Virginia's dead. She can't be called as a witness. Now they're transferring everything to Virginia. And that's insane. And again, she abused Annie Farmer in 1996 with Jeffrey Epstein in New Mexico. Annie Farmer took the stand in her trial and fucking sank this bitch. Okay, this woman is a degenerate, but this is the setup, guys. This whole thing is a setup to shift the blame to the dead girl, and then thereby they're going to try to use this story to refute whatever leaks out of the Epstein files, all the shit that Trump's name is on there, right? Isn't that crazy? Dude, that is fucking crazy, bro. It is. Like, when I read this, I was like, unhinged, boss. I'll tell you right now, guys, what I noticed is that nobody was really covering this deep into the deposition, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell came out, and everybody was sharing a blurb that said Trump didn't do anything, and then they've moved on, right? They've moved on to the other distractions, to Trump threatening Chicago, to Trump in D.C., to Trump and the tariffs. But nobody's talking about this. But I am going to sound the alarm. We're going to sound the alarm on all of this because the fact that they're trying to move it to the dead girl is like, lets me know that there's some deep shit in there. Okay? There is a smoking gun in there, guys, somewhere. Path of what they're doing, trying to have Ghislaine come out and refute everything even going against what she said in her case. And they are now moving all of the responsibility to this dead girl that can no longer testify, that's conveniently been, committed suicide. I know that there's a smoking gun in there. Dude, I know there is. What is up, guys? Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, you want to support independent resistance media, you know what to do. Drop that sub, hit the like button, and please share it. And we do love our members, so if you want to become a member, it's another really great way to support. Thanks again for everything, guys. I'll see you next time. Let's go.